Hey guys, how's it going? Elion here, and I want to talk to you about another OC of mine, a friend, a character, someone I've known for a while, had for a while, made a long while ago. So, no, like all seriousness though, this is Ether, Ether Shades. Yes, I know his name sounds incredibly edgy. I made him a long time ago. Cut me some slack. But how it was with him was originally I didn't have when I used to hang out with certain people and we used to talk or pee, whatever, right? Never really had my own character. So I was like, because I used to just go with the black and wolf aesthetic, the artwork. And the funny thing was, I didn't even, and I know a lot of people still do it to this day. They'll just like they have their profile pictures be just like some random artwork that somebody made of a character they just happen to like that they just put together. They do it all the time. They do it with known characters, unknown characters. If they like it, they claim it as quote unquote them. So like I said, when I was younger, I was guilty of that solely because one, I don't have the artistic talent to make my own, and two, I didn't have the money to commission people to make me one. This was like back in like around high school for me, I think. God, that was a long time ago. Anyways, I'm getting off track, topic, whatever. Ether himself was someone who was supposed to be simple. Because I know a lot of people would look at him and be like, oh, well, this is just like a Black Panther. That's kind of boring. And I'm like, yes and no. It works for his lore. And also because design wise, I wanted something simple. I saw all these crazy, bright, colorful patterns and streaks and all this other shit that people had with their characters. Hell, even the characters I used to have as my profile pictures were just like black wolves with red streaks and stripes and all this other stuff on them. I know two popular ones were, I forgot the name. I think it's like Argos and Pumsy. I think they're made by the same person. But I remember seeing that one a lot, which is ironically how I met my friend who helped inspire Ether's partner or friend, Serena, but I'll get into her a whole another time. Because their stories are tied together, but I want to go over his first before I go into hers, because I tried talking about both of them, but then I realized the original video was like an hour long, and I was like, okay, I don't want to be waffling too hard on this stuff. So we're going to start with Ether first. And I'm just giving you the backstory of his stuff. So when I first got him as one of my first like characters, I know my first OC that I said was Jade, which is true, but the first one I started utilizing in the sense was Ether, and I like the idea of him being dressed simple. You know, he just all he really wears outside of some necklaces or bracelets is just pants. He does have some regular casual attires too, but like I said, I like the idea of him just being himself. Like he don't doesn't really care what he wears, what he does. He kind of just vibes when he's out places. But Ether's story is it starts off a bit tricky because originally he didn't have one. He was just my like profile picture. However, I met a person. I think her profile name, I don't remember entirely, but I know her first name was Serena, which is why the character I made was inspired off of her character when we used to RP together and hang out. She was a bounty hunter, because of course she was. I seem to have a specific niche for this kind of stuff, and she was also female, which made her popular amongst a lot of people who kept trying to hang out with her, and I guess ERP with her. But the whole point with that was just like, okay, and every time she would post, I leave a comment or I'd like respond to it a little bit, and the idea of Ether, or at least the character of him, is that he's just chilling most times. He doesn't push for any kind of recognition or any kind of like attention. He just kind of sits and watches the chips fall where they may. But he doesn't do it in that whole thing that people would do when they kind of act like they're not interested, where they try really hard to be aloof, where they're just kind of like, eh. but then they're like looking over while they're doing it. It's like y'all ain't slick. You clearly want to be involved by acting like you're not involved. Y'all doing like you're trying too hard to act like you're not trying. But eventually, we hung out more, and we were kind of just cool. So we started like forming. We started RPing together for a bit, doing stories, and then boom, out of nowhere, she just dubbed me her partner in crime, which made us like we just kind of kicked it every now and again. Nothing crazy, nothing. It wasn't even romantic. It was mostly just action based. We went and did jobs together. So that inspired me to come up with my own character after a while because, like I said, I was a bit of an edgy boy. So Ether is a shadowmancer. He can jump in and out of people's shadows, the shadows around him. Wherever there's light and there's shadows, he can appear in a sense. But obviously, he doesn't just like warp anywhere. Like he can't just go anywhere in his city where there's a shadow. He has to physically be looking at it to know where it is to latch onto it. He can't. Otherwise, he'd be busted. And so, as such, in his, he used to run jobs for people. He used to be like a debt collector, an enforcer. If you owed money or you owed something, he was going to collect it. And because of his abilities, he can find you and get in pretty much. He can get past people's defenses. He can get into their homes. Like if he has binoculars, for instance, and he can see you, it doesn't matter how far away you are. If you leave any kind of a shadow, he can see it. Boom, he can get you. And you might think, okay, well, I thought you said it wasn't that busted. The shadows have to be formed from some kind of light. He can't jump in between darkness where there's no shadows to bounce off of. Like if he's in a room that's pure dark, he's not just gonna be all like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna jump all over the place." It's like, no, there has to be light pushing outward to form the shadows themselves. Otherwise, yeah, like I said, he'd be like fucking Haku with the ice mirrors all over the place, just. But his job was good for getting in close, which also would make him a good assassin. But again, he's not. He doesn't like to typically kill people, or like in a sense, people that he would seem as innocent. He doesn't give a shit about gang members, criminals, things like that. Because in his mind, y'all actively choosing to be bad people. Who cares? Like anyone who gets put in the ground, that's one less piece of shit off the street, you know. And his weapons, if I remember correctly, besides his claws, he had a six-shooter revolver, and they're not like what they call katars, I think, like little makeshift like they're knuckle dusters, but they can shoot spikes out, kind of like Wolverine's claws. I think they're called katars or something like that. And he would use that when he wasn't using his like actual nails, because again, he could fight like an animal. That doesn't make him one. You know, it's not very dignified to be going buck wild on people like that. Yeah, and I know it's stupid. It's claws on top of claws, right? But it's also metal, and it doesn't wear on his other ones as much, and it has better reach because he can. Because they're not. They don't. He has versions. He has some that are straight out, and some that are hooks, like hook blades. So he can use them for climbing. He can dig them into people. Like he has variations of them, and also he can just pose with it sometimes. Like he likes his aura. So when he was in the city, I don't have an actual name for the city. It was just called the city. Whenever he was first together, he was just doing his job being an enforcer. And how it works in the world that he lives in, there's a organization, like a deep organization that essentially is underground the actual thing, like assassins, crime lords, kingpins, drug pushers, like they all are documented in a sense, like a kind of like a underground bracket. The bigger you are in those things, the higher up you go on this thing called the blacklist. The blacklist is basically the most infamously known people at the time. Like if someone set a record, they're on the list officially even after they die, but the current active positions are constantly shifting, and it's a top 12 list. The reason it's a top 12 and not a top 10 is because some people do enough work to get on the list, but for one reason or another, they haven't quite got to the top 10 yet. But everyone knows like the 11th and 12th place are kind of like placeholders where it's like if something happens to those guys, yeah, you're on, and if you can just really outpace them, then you get on the list. So they have like different brackets. Obviously, they have overall. Then they have stuff like top 12 assassins, top 12 burglars or thieves, gangs, criminals, yada yada yada. And the reason it's like that is one, it promotes like criminal activity, like competition breeds diamonds. And while some people fight over the credentials themselves, like territories, street corners, that kind of stuff, some of the other ones fight over the positions of being on the blacklist because being on the list itself gives you a lot of benefits as a criminal or a crook that you can just have access to at any time. It could be something as simple as, you know, have freshly made food from a restaurant discreetly delivered to your locations. So you're not just like eating cheap food all the time. They could bring you weapons, supplies. The higher ups can even give you like sway over like the police force, where it's like, they'll look past certain areas for you. Or if you get arrested, some of the evidence will disappear, or the witnesses, or yeah, like you can call on some big favors the higher up on the list you are. And if you're in the number one overall spot, you're essentially and like almost I don't want to say like an emperor, like kind of like a king, because you can command other people and you have a lot more pull. Like that's what the blacklist essentially is. It's basically one massive organization network. And you could be like, who's in charge of the blacklist? I leave that ambiguous, but it's implied that it's a subsection of the government where you have one side that's the face of the government, where like it runs everything. You see the faces of the organizations and the people behind them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then there's the side branch or this like subsection that you don't ever see, you don't ever hear about, and they help keep like the darker side of the world running in and out, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, the blacklist itself, though, does have certain criteria that they don't publicly announce. Like, for instance, there is no like top 10 list in the blacklist for serial killers. And then obviously there's some they don't even consider being put on the list, like, people that eat like cannibals, people that go after like women and children, you know who I'm referring to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like they're an organization first, but they don't glorify everything, if that makes sense. But like Ether is kind of on the list, but not really, because there's different areas of the blacklist depending on the area you're involved in. Like there's some in your cities, there's some for the state, there's some for the world, and there's sections and sections and sections. There's hierarchies to the blacklist. Just because you're the top in the city doesn't mean you're the top in the world. If you happen to coincide with multiple being on the list in multiple sections, you can essentially shape parts of the world just by your influence, which is a big deal, which is why people are always going for it. Now, obviously, you're not allowed to talk about the blacklist. Anyone who tries to go public with it usually finds them and everyone they've ever known gone, disappeared, off the books. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, Ether himself has no ties to the blacklist. He does not care. He knows of it, he just doesn't give a shit. But again, citywide, he's known as a pretty good enforcer. Pretty good, like, someone that gets shit done. So, at one point, he gets essentially tricked into having a new job because he was helping out this woman, this like little. Well, I say little, no, it's more. It's a single mother that he had to go collect for one time, and during his collection, he met this like rabbit, this little kid. Well, not little kid. He's like a, I'd say like a punk kind of person, like a teenager. You know, real troublemaker sort. His name was Jack. Yes, I know, Jack Rabbit. I get it, right? So he went to go talk to the woman, and you know, in his free time, he'd check in on her every now and again. Like they formed a bit of a relationship. I I don't even know if I should call like they hook up from time to time, but it's not really like romantic. It's more along the lines of we both have needs kind of thing. But one day, the is like the mother calls and she's like, "Hey, Jack's gonna end up in this dangerous street race. Can you go get him, please?" So he was like, I guess I could do that. And he tracks down Jack. And Jack is about to get into a street race. And while it's not necessarily dangerous, it worried her enough to call Ether. And Ether's whole thing is if I'm called to do something, I'm gonna do it. I don't care about the if, ands, or buts. If I'm supposed to bring you where you gotta go, you're going. I don't care if you're answering or not. A job is a job. He goes there, finds the guy. The guy tries to race off and like drive past and drive away. Ether gets in the car, throws him out while it's moving, knocks him upside the head, and drags his unconscious body to his car, picks him up, drives him back to his mom, calls it a day. But it's at that point, though, that he gains the attention of another street racer, who happened to be Serena. Because that was another part of the lore back when I used to hang out with that lady, was that her character was a bounty hunter, a street racer, etc., and like a whole bunch of other stuff. And she had like this really fast, really powerful car, and it's like you can see where that's going, right? So after a while, he would just run in and do his jobs. He got contacted by someone that goes by Mr. Finn, who's basically a giant shark man, like a shark mob boss or a shark kingpin. And the way I worded it when I first described him is like he's a giant hammerhead shark who's essentially Wilson Fisk, but I guess maybe to a smaller scale. And I know I could have made him a great white, but I figured hammerhead because how many hammerhead sharks do you see, right? So one day he gets hired to go collect something. Ether goes to do it. He's like, job is a job. He goes to bring it back to him, and the guy's like, I'm glad we could have some continued business out of this. And he says, I no, like I don't work for anyone in the sense of like I know technically he works for anyone that pays him, but like he doesn't have anyone he goes out of his way to talk to or like work under. Like he doesn't do all that stuff. He's like, I work for me and only me. Outside of that, if money's good, you get something, but don't expect this to be a constant thing. And then that's when he decides to not let Ether go. And they have a fight. And Ether comes up short in the fight and ends up losing. And so, with a little gun to his head, he basically says, like, all right, you got two choices. I can splatter your gray matter all over this floor, or you can work for me as my new bodyguard. And again, it's also a power play too. Like you got this well-known guy working under you like a servant, it's a good trophy. And at that point in the story, without like any other way to get around it, he reluctantly said yes.